Hello there, and a very good evening to you, or a good morning, or a good afternoon, depending on whereabouts in the world you are. And of course, as usual, I'd love to know where you are. So thank you for joining us today, anyhow, with the Half Yard Sewing Club monthly live Facebook chat. So in this chat, we're going to have a look at the block of the month. We have so much excitement and so many questions about it. So I just want to take you through again exactly what we're going to be doing. And we're going to have a look at the foot of the month. And this month is a zipper foot, but we're not doing zips. We're going to be doing piping with those zipper foot. So it's something a little bit different. I think I'll cover at some point on the Half Yard Club website different ways of using a zipper foot and different ways of putting in zips as well. So we'll add that at some point to the techniques page, but we've got an awful long list of things to put on there. So okay. Come and let us know where you are and what you're doing. So hello to Maureen and hello to Pollyann. There's a few seconds difference between what I'm seeing when you're coming along there and when you come along, so I'm sorry if I missed you. But this video will be available on Facebook forever, really. Better get it right. And I will be looking at all of your comments as well. And I will be posting this on YouTube as well. So if you don't do Facebook, you're probably not watching live now, but you will be able to catch up on YouTube as well. So let me tell you a bit about us, as I always do. We have so many new members this month. This is so exciting. We've got thousands of you. And it's such a lovely community of like-minded people. And I know that because we interact, we talk to each other like we do now, and on the forum pages on the website. But basically, if you just happened upon us here live tonight and you think, I don't know what this is, what's this all about? And then let me tell you, the Half Yard Sewing Club is a subscription website. So you'll pay, if you're in the UK, £5.99 a month or £60 a year. So you're making a saving there if you go for a yearly subscription. And you will receive every month a project that has been designed by myself, Debbie Shaw, and that'll be unique. And it could be anything from a bit of dressmaking, bag making, cushion covers, toy making. Try and keep it as diverse as possible. So we're introducing lots of different genres of sewing into the monthly project. Now, this isn't a subscription website where we're going to send you something every month, because we are international. We have members in South Africa, in Australia, in America, in Canada. We're all over the place. So it would be nigh on impossible to send out products without doubling or tripling your membership. But you will have a video. You will have your step-by-step instructions, and you will have a downloadable pattern as well. That's going to happen every single month. And then you'll have another project. They won't have a video, but you'll have a pattern and you'll have your instructions. So that's 2 projects for your £5.99. And then we're building up a whole resource of hints and tips. Some of those are videos and some of those are photographic. So you'll have a resource of information to go back to, and that could be dressmaking techniques or patchwork techniques or just hints and tips. And then you also have a block of the month, which is behind me here, and I'll show you that in more detail in just a second. There's been so much excitement over this one. It's amazing that there's so many of you that are on board already and already started making the first block. Now, when you do join up, all of the projects are kept on the website for at least 12 months. So don't think, oh, if I join now, I'm not going to be able to, I can't do this block of the month this month. It won't be till March I can get around to it. Everything's still going to be there for a whole 12 months. And if you do join now, you've got a backlog of 12 months of projects that you can access as well. I know, for less than the price of a dressmaking pattern. You do get an awful lot seriously for your money. The thing that I love about it more than anything is the interaction. I love these lives. I'm going to be saying hello to as many of you like Debbie and Carol and Brenda and Dawn and Gail and Jackie and Jan and Alison as I can, because it's not social media wonderful. I love this kind of feedback. And we will, as you'll probably see throughout the hour tonight, you'll be seeing people from all over the world coming through as well. On the website, there's also an Ask a Member page, and that's like a forum. So you can interact between each other. So you can ask a member what you're doing, Or you can ask a member, what's the best way to put a zip in? And if I'm the member that's there picking up, or it might be Bob. Bob answers a lot of them. Thank you very much, Bob. But there's always somebody there that can answer your questions, and it's nice to have that personal kind of interaction. Project-wise, it's very much based on what you want, so be careful what you ask for. So, for instance, I think it was December, we had a request for a wheelchair bag. I am working on more wheelchair bags and things to go on the side in your knee and all kinds of things. There's an awful lot to look into there. But not everybody's in a wheelchair, so the bag was adaptable to go on the back of a pushchair or just be an overnight bag. So as far as I can, I'll try and give you what you want, but then kind of change it around so it's more adaptable so that everybody can use it. I was asked for a man bag for so long. The man bag's there, but it's under the guise of a messenger bag. So it's not just something that men can use, you know, anybody can use it. It's just something that goes across your body. So take a look at all the projects on there. And if you have any ideas, if there's something that you desperately want or you can't find or you think would be a really good idea as a project, then come and let me know. This isn't something that, you know, every project, we are going to do this month and that's what you're going to sew. It's all about what you'd like. So it's a community. We all work together like this. And oh, thank you, Dawn and Sarah. And oh yeah, Em's in Tunbridge Wells at the moment. So Em's looking after marketing. She looks after the website, and she's telling you that if you use code WELCOME18, you can join up for a month for free. So again, if you haven't seen us before and you thought, well, I don't know if I'd like it, what do I get? If you go, you will have to fill in all of your details, including your credit card details. So if you don't want to carry on, do remember to cancel. It's just the way that the website's set up, can't do anything about that. But when you come to a coupon code, if you type in WELCOME in capital letters 18, you will have a whole month for free. And within that month, you're going to be able to access all of the projects for the last 12 months. And if you're happy to carry on, we'd love to have you on board. That's fine. If you think, no, it's not for me, that's fine as well. And then you can just cancel your subscription. You won't be charged for anything at all. I think that's a jolly good deal. So what are you sewing? What are you up to? What would you like? What do you want to see? What can't you do? What do you want to learn? Come and let me know and we'll see what we can do. We're quite a small group. So there's myself, Debbie. There's Kim, who's with me now, who keeps an eye on what I'm doing, keeps me up to date, does my social media and more. Kim's my daughter. There's Em, who's with us. She's putting on there your welcome codes. Em's in charge of the website and social media and marketing. Emily is our editor. So any of the projects that you do have are edited professionally, so they come in the same kind of format as any of my books or magazine articles and things like that. So everything's written and proofread and checked before it comes to you. We have a pattern designer as well, who's another Emma. So any of the patterns that you do download aren't my scribblings, they're professionally designed. And of course we have Caroline, who's not with us this evening because she's at a publishing convention. They're skiing apparently in France. I know the things these publishers get up to. But Caroline is the lady who's responsible for this whole site in the first place. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us working here all together. The last month, though, honestly, we've seen so many new members joining. It's really special. It's actually turning out to be a full-time job for me, which is amazing. That's exactly what I wanted it to be. And I love the way that everything is global as well. Hi, Mary. Thank you. Right, so let's have a look at the blog of the month. So it's behind me here. Let me show you the sample we have here. So this is it. Ooh, I've made a big wobble on my overhead camera. There we go. You have 11 blocks, and the 12th block, which is in fact the first block, is the flying geese that goes all around the edge. There aren't videos for this one, but you'll have complete step-by-step instructions with photography. and this one features heavily with applique. So you'll see lots of patchwork designs, lots of different ways of quilting, and lots of different ways of adding applique from, we've got echo quilting, there's the birdhouse in the center there. There's actually two ways of doing that. You can either use a satin stitch to apply it, or you can use needle tone applique. So all of those different techniques are explained month by month. The only difference between yours and this one, if you've gone for the fabric bundle, which Inspirations in Preston have a bundle for you, is that we've replaced the black with a pink. But I'll show you that close up in just a second. It's lovely, isn't it? Look at that. It's amazing. Now, I'm not taking the credit for this. I'm being quite honest with you. This is a design that I've worked on with my very good friend, Melissa Naylor. So it's one of her designs that we've managed to put together as a block of the month for you. So let's go over the top so I can show you. So block one again is going to be the flying geese. And then over the next 12 months, we're going to be showing you all of these different blocks with photographic step-by-step instructions. Now, it's up to you what you do with them. You can work on these as we have done, or we will be doing, over the course of 12 months. So at the end of it, you'll have the finished piece, as you see here. That's foundation paper piecing. Or you can use these individually if you wanted to. So once you've learnt the technique, you could make that into a bag or a cushion cover. This is the big central one, which basically goes across two blocks. And this is the one that's been finished with a satin stitch, but there is an alternative to use needle tone applique if you prefer. We've got English paper piecing for the hexagon block here. You've got your basket, your flower basket. The tulips are beautiful. Again, the center there is foundation paper piecing. If you like the fabric, have a look on the Hunky Dory or Inspirations website there in Preston, because they had put together some amazing bundles of this particular fabric. It's craft cotton fabric. The white fabric's a different one that you're going to get. I can't remember the make of it. But the pattern fabric is Feathers by Craft Cotton Company. But of course you can choose any fabric that you want to use. You don't have to use the ones that we've used here, but it's pretty amazing, isn't it? If you are a complete beginner and you've not done patchwork and quilting before, the instructions I keep really simple. So I don't do jargon. I don't get it. I don't know why we have it. Jargon should be banned in my eyes. So all of the instructions are very simple. But again, because we've got the Ask a Member page on the website, if you do have any questions or you're struggling with anything, then you can just come along and ask a question. Hi, Soph. Brenda, have all the lovely Christmas cotton quilting fabrics. I'm wondering about scarves made for next Christmas. Oh, that's a nice idea. I don't have any patterns for scarves at the moment, but not too difficult, are they? I could work on that one. Jackie joined in December. Welcome along. I hope you're enjoying the club still. Oh, no, and you talk to each other. Oh, hi, Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa. Hi, Jackie. Nice to see you. Nice to see you too. Alison's doing the block of the month with her sister. Hi, Davina and Dawn and Tracy. And Lavinia's in Northern Ireland. Oh, Polly says hi. Lindsay, Polly says hi. Just in case you hadn't seen it. And Pollyanne, hi Lindsay as well. What else have we got? Right, I think that's as up to date for now. So, okay, we're going to look at our foot of the month. I need a jingle. Foot of the month. And it's a zipper foot this time. So a zipper foot is great for putting zips in. But there's more than just using a zipper foot for zips. Basically, with a zipper foot, and let me show you what I mean by a zipper foot, all of your machines, no matter what you bought, will have a zipper foot included, I am sure, and it's this one. And basically, you have a foot without an edge to it. So it allows the needle to go really close to your hem or to whatever it is that you're making. So for sewing a zip, it's perfect because as you're sewing, you're going to have the teeth or the coil of the zip running down the side. And if you had a regular presser foot, then that would be over the top of the zip. I am using a machine that I don't normally use. It's a Little Singer Patchwork. And I'll be quite honest with you, it's because on my Janome, I've lost the zipper foot. I know. These things happen. So on the majority of domestic sewing machines, it'll be a snap-on foot, so it just clips in place. Like so. You have the ability on most machines as well to be able to move the needle across. So on this machine, if I move the stitch width on a stretch stitch, then it should move the needle from one side to the other. I'm just going to switch off and on again. So if you switch the machine off and on again, it defaults back to a straight stitch. And then as you move, why aren't you moving? As you move the needle across, it should move it from side to side. There you go. Honestly, sometimes machines just don't do as they're told, do they? I'm on the wrong stitch, that's why. Let's go to stitch 0. Off and on again. I don't think I left it off long enough to default. Right, then, there we go. There's the needle going across from one side to another, so you can get really close to whatever it is you're sewing. I use this quite a lot, not just for piping and not just for sewing in zips, but if I'm sewing, maybe there's a flap on a bag and I've got a magnetic snap there or some kind of closure, and when I put the fabric under my normal sewing machine foot, it's too close, so as you're approaching the snap, it does this. But if you put your zipper foot on, it allows you to get really, really close to the edge of your fabric. So we're going to look at piping. We're looking at spaghetti. Piping is available in lots of different thicknesses. I tend to use 1/4 of an inch, and that's the measurement as you go across the piping. You can have really thick piping, you can have piping that looks like some kind of naval cord, you can have very fine piping which is only 1/4 of an inch across. So it depends on the look of whatever it is you're creating, the kind of look that you want. If you're dressmaking and you just want to put some piping maybe around the collar of a pair of pajamas or across the top of the pocket, you're going to need a very fine piping. If you're making a bath mat, then maybe you want a very thick piping going around there, so that's entirely up to you. But 1/4 of an inch is normally quite a good size to go for. So I've got some bias binding. This is just shop bought bias binding. It's 1 inch bias binding, which means it's 2 inches across. And the nice thing about bias binding is it's cut on the bias, which is a 45-degree angle, so it has a little bit of stretch to it. So if you're going to put your piping around the curve or maybe a corner, it'll stretch around there rather than just start to pucker up. So what I'm going to do to make the piping initially is to put my cord right in the center and wrap my fabric around it. Now there is a maths where you can work out exactly how much fabric you need. To be honest, I find it easier to just use a normal width, or if you're cutting fabric yourself, that's 2 inches across, and then we'll trim this back down again to the width that we need. I'll explain that more closely in just a second. And just really quickly, hi Cheryl, and hi Gail, and hi Linda, and Parisa in Stockholm. Hi Jean. Oh, there's Lo. I love it when you come and join us. Welcome along. So anyway, so there we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is to sew the piping in place. So I'm matching up the edges. I find it easier not to pin, to be honest. Zipper foot on machine. I'm going to do the piping sticking out a little bit so I can see where it is. And I'm going to sew reasonably close to the piping. In fact, I can move my needle over a little bit like I showed you earlier and get that a little bit closer. So I'm just using a straight stitch. I'm lining up the 2 edges of my bias binding together. And my stitch length on this one is 2.5 millimeters. I'm just going to stop with my needle down as I'm sewing, just to make it a little bit more accurate. So this could be piping that goes around a bag flap. This one is going to be on a cushion cover. It could be something that if you're using two different prints of fabric on a cushion cover, it makes quite a nice design to the seam. It makes it a little bit different. And I think with any type of piping, it gives you a really professional finish. Can you hear giggling in the background? Let me explain a little bit about what goes on here. So you're in my home. This is the front of the house. So over that way, we've got the dog sitting in the window. It's dark at the moment, so there's not a lot to bark at. If you're ever with me on the lives during the daytime, you'll hear tractors going up and down. You'll hear the postman. You'll hear the dog barking. It's very real, shall we say. But in the evenings for these, because they're really special lives, Kim comes up from London. Just see, she's sat behind the camera over there. She brings my granddaughter Vienna with her. And while we're doing this, my husband Gary is responsible for entertaining the granddaughter. And they're having a whale of a time, and I think you can hear the giggling. I don't know what they're doing. They're over that way. I don't know what they're doing in there, but there's an awful lot of laughing going on. You might hear a bit of barking at some point because Bobbin gets a bit jealous of everything going on. One day, it will be me and Kim and Vienna sitting here demonstrating sewing techniques for you, I'm sure. Bobbin's just come. Hello. Just coming in. I think she's getting a bit jealous. Hello. Good girl. So, I'm just going to sew all the way down the piping, and then we're going to trim this back again. You can buy a tool, actually. Simplicity do a piping trimming tool, for want of a better name for it, which will give you a perfect seam allowance. And again, there are the mathematics that you can go to measure the fabric to the exact width, but if you don't have the patience or the calculator, then this is a good way of doing it. Almost there. I'm not going to go all the way to the end. And I shall explain why later. There we go. Okay, so we've got a whole length of piping. And what I need to do now is to trim this back. And move that out of the way. Hey, Bob. So I'd like, basically the edge of the fabric that you see here is going to be your seam allowance. And I'd like this to be 1/4 inch. So this is where a tool comes in handy. Otherwise, just use your eye and trim that back. So it doesn't have to be exactly 1/4 inch, but as long as it's the same all the way along. And I'll show you what I mean by using that as your seam allowance in just a second. That will all make sense. I do love piping though. Piping on a Roman blind, or piping across, when you join two pieces of fabric together, maybe you're making a pair of curtains which has two different prints of fabric. Just adding that little row of piping in between the two prints makes such a difference and really does give your work a shop bought look. So bear with me, I'm almost there. The type of piping, to be honest, the one that I'm using now, I'm not really fond of. It's a bit too stiff. It's a little bit like a washing line. Some of the pipings you can buy are really quite corded, and you can see the shape of the cord through your fabric, which I don't like either. So if you've got something quite smooth and very flexible, would be, I think, your best option. Almost there, bear with me. Would you like to see curtain making on the site? We've got a couple of different styles of cushion covers. We've got a bit of smocking on there, more smocking coming up later on in the year. But would you like to see more homewares? Would it be maybe curtains, blinds, festoons? Come and let me know and we'll see what we can do. Okay, so let's chop that off there. Don't need all of that. So we've got this. Right, so as we're going round our cushion cover, we're going to do this right sides together, and I'm going to start and stop right in the middle. What I'm not going to do at the moment is to start sewing from the end. I'm going to give myself a little bit of grace and leave maybe 2 or 3 inches of cord at the end. So when you're measuring how much you actually need to make the cushion cover, make sure that you've got that quite a bit left over there. Then I'm going to place, I'm not going to pin it, but I'm going to start sewing right sides together and try and sew along the same seam line that I've just sewn. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit closer, because the final stitching is going to be made in just 1 second. Right, and off we go. Let me just catch up with who's there. Oh, hi Darlene and Vanessa. Hi Anna, hi Jean. And Patricia and Deborah and Lynn. And I love it when you all kind of get on with it. I'm busy here sewing and you've got Kimberly and I'm just answering your questions and getting along with it. And that's great. So again, just lining up the edges of your piping now with the edge and trying to sew, well, as close as you can to the seam line that you've already got. Now, when I'm coming up to the corner here, I'm going to start snipping up to the seam line and make little snips that goes around the corner. You're never going to get a perfect 90-degree turn when you're using piping. But I'm going to sew as close as I can and then leave the needle in a down position. Oh, you went a bit out of focus then. I keep putting my head in the shot, don't I? I'm sorry about that. Leave the needle down, lift this up, turn your fabric around, and then gently pull your piping. Now, because I've snipped into the seam allowance, I get a nice smooth line here. And then line up the other seams here, and then carry on sewing. And we'll carry on doing this all the way around. You could just do one straight piece of piping straight across the middle if you're making a cushion cover with just 2 different fabrics. I think there's one of those in my Making Cushion Covers book, which is the first book I ever had published. Again, coming up to the corner, I'm going to leave the needle down and snip into here. I find it easier to do this as I'm approaching the corner rather than trying to measure it beforehand. That can be a lot more accurate. I have no idea what Carrie's playing at with Vienna, but they're having so much fun in there. And then we'll carry on sewing. I'm going to go all the way around. I know this is a little bit samey, but I want to show you what happens when we get back to the beginning again. So just bear with me as I go around. I've deliberately made quite a small cushion cover. And again, snip into here. Not through the stitches, but just to allow that corner to ease around. So stop the needle down and around we go. So I'm not too concerned about being really, really close to the piping at this point, because that's going to happen in just a second when we come to putting the second piece of fabric over the top. So line those edges up. Always better to have this a little bit too long than a little bit too short. This this is rather a lot too long, but hey, yeah. Maybe one more there. Let's go into the corner, needle down, and around we go. Right, now at this point, I'm just going to chop this off so it overlaps a little bit. And again, I'm going to sew quite close, but not right up to the edge. Now, there are a couple of ways that you can do this to overlap. You can, if you wanted to, bend both of these sides down, so they're literally crisscross over, and carry on your sewing line. It will mean that when you come to the right-hand side, you've got an overlap like this, which may not necessarily be the neatest way of doing it. So what I'm going to do is to cut the cords so that they both meet here. So you can see that's why I've got everything a little bit too long. And we're going to fold back one of the pieces so it gives it a nice, neat finish. So let's just unpick a little bit of this. Like so. Bobbin's getting a little bit excited. Don't be surprised if you have a bit of a bark going on in a moment. So I'm going to cut this piece off here so it's in the center. I'm going to line up the two pieces of piping. So I've got one that finishes right on the end and that one finishes there. So the piping now matches. But the end of the fabric, I'm just going to trim that to make it neat. And then I'm going to fold it over. It'll be a little bit shorter, but that's okay. And then the raw edge goes inside the folded edge. And the two pieces of piping are butting up against each other. I hope you can see that okay. And then sew over the edge. So keep that nice and tightly wrapped around the piping. What we need to do is to rethread the needle. I have this awful habit of cutting off my thread too short so the needle comes undone. Needle in the uppermost position when you're doing this, if you have a needle threader. If you don't have a needle threader, change your machine and buy a machine that has a needle threader. And then we'll sew straight across. So that gives you a really nice neat join. When this is on the right side, you're just going to see that fold of fabric. Right, so the second thing to do is to take your remaining piece of fabric and we're going to sew these right sides together. So I shan't go all the way around. I'll just show you how to go around the corners and how we can double check that everything's kept nice and neat and your piping is going to look fabulous. So again, you can pin that if you wanted to, but I'm just lining up the edges of the fabric. I'm going to sew from the top of the fabric where I can see where the stitch line is, and you can also feel the bump of where the piping is as well. So let's get that back under the machine. So corner to corner of the fabric's lined up, edge to edge of the fabric's lined up, but this time I've got the piping running across the edge of the foot, and again I can feel where that is. And I'm going to move the foot across as far as it'll go. And I'm going to rethread it. So I've done it again. I have this dreadful habit of cutting my thread too short. One of the reasons why we love needle threaders so much. Okay, so now my needle is as far to the left-hand side as I can make it. So now I need to be sewing really snugly against the edge of my cord. So I don't want to sew through it, but I want to sew really, really close to it. So take your time. And again, I'm feeling where that is. I can see where it is. I'm lining up the edge of my fabric. I'm going over the joint there that I've just made. And I'm coming up to the next corner. I'll just go around this corner. That's as far as we'll go with this one. So make sure your fabrics or your piping is facing inwards. Now when you come to the corner, again, keep it nice and snug. I think I might have missed a little bit, but I'm quite pleased about that because I want to show you what you can do. And then carry on sewing down the other side. Maybe a cushion cover that's an envelope. It may be a cushion cover that has a zip in the back. It doesn't matter. Let's stop here. Now before I finish, or when I've sewn all around the cord, I want to just turn this over and just make sure that my piping is nice and snug. I did say I think I could be closer. I can be, look, I've got a gap here. I can actually see the stitching from the first layer. That's absolutely fine, because now I can turn this back over again. I can see the stitch line that I made, and I know that I need to go closer around this curve. So if you can simply move the needle back over again and just sew closer. That's probably the easiest way to do it. So can I think my needle's gone all the way that I can. So you out there. So I'm angling my fabric now. I hope you can see that okay. I think the sewing machine light's a little bit bright. But I'm literally sewing right up to the edge of where the piping is. Let's take this really close around the corner. And that's the beauty. Don't expect to do something like this and get it right first time. It's just not going to happen. But at least by redoing this at this point, you know what to look out for when you're doing it again. So let's again turn this the right side out. And look, that looks so much neater. I've really got into the corner. The piping's even all the way around. This, of course, will be pressed, but that gives a really lovely, crisp edge to my work. And doesn't that give a really professional finish? I love a bit of piping. If you want something to look shop bought, then these are the kind of things that you should be looking for, or the kind of techniques that you should be learning. So a zipper foot for sewing zips in, well, that's why it's got its name of the zipper foot, but there's so much more that you can do with it. So I hope you've learnt something there. I've ignored you for a while, so let me have a quick catch up. See who's here. Oh, hi, Vanessa. And Karen's poorly. Oh, I hope you get better soon. Nice that you're watching this, though. Thank you for that. Amanda says you always wash your fabric before starting a project. Pre-washing is a personal choice, as far as I'm concerned. Most modern fabrics don't actually need pre-washing, and you'll find a different feel to the fabric because some of the starches that are involved in the manufacturing process are washed away, so you might feel that it feels a little bit coarser. I will pre-wash if I'm dressmaking, just because I'm a little bit nervous about taking all that time and effort to make a dress and then find that it shrinks. I know it won't, but it's a peace of mind. If I'm quilting, I will normally pre-wash unless I want the look of a shrunken quilt. So in other words, when you've made the quilt, sometimes your wadding can shrink, sometimes your fabric can shrink, and it's a really nice look. It gives a vintage effect. But if I really don't want my fabric to shrink, then I will wash. If I'm making something like cushion covers or curtains, or if I'm bag making or general homewares, normally those kind of things don't go in the wash. They're spot cleaned. In which case, then no, I don't. If you're a little bit unsure, or you want to pre-wash, but you want to get on with your project really quickly, then give your fabric a blast of hot steam from your iron. And if there is any pre-wash or any pre-shrinkage, then it will probably happen then. But it really is a personal choice. I say depends on what you're making. Hopefully we'll get lots of comments on what you think about pre-washing as well. Leslie's late to the party. Hey, Leslie, join the party. Hi, Anne-Marie. Thank you. And Parisa, your needle thread is broken. Have a look if it is actually broken. A lot of the time with your needle threader, when you imagine it, you've got your needle coming down like this, and your needle threader comes through and goes through the eye of the needle, and it's like a hook. Then you put your thread across, and the hook pulls the thread through the needle. That hook is like fuse wire. It's really, really fine. So if your needle isn't in exactly the right position when you come to thread, and that wire hits the side of the needle, it can bend. So it's not necessarily broken. You might need a magnifying glass to take a look, but if you have a look at that little hook and it's bent to one side, take something like the flat blade of a knife and twist it back to where it should be. If it is broken, then have a word with your manufacturers. They might be able to replace that for you. But a lot of the time it's not actually broken, it's bent. So have a look through. I can't see them myself. I have to have a magnifying glass, but do have a look. Happens all the time. How do you get the fabric to go around the corner easily, Jack? Just take your time. Just take your time. Don't look at the needle as you're sewing. Look at where the fabric's going underneath the foot. And going around corners like that, at least you can, as I just showed you, can go around and do it again if it's not quite right. Hi, Helen. And Kate's in Dalby in Australia. Oh, welcome along. Thanks, Alison. And Karen's been sewing all day, making a kimono. Oh, bet that's nice. Love to see pictures, by the way. Diane's getting sewing lessons in September. She's made aprons, cushion covers, and Christmas stockings for the grandchildren. Isn't it satisfying when you make things for somebody else? Yeah. Hi, Anne. And Parisa again, and Maria Kay. Oh, you're one of our new viewers, our new joiners. Thank you very much. She's got many of the books as well. There is, it's different. I like to keep all the projects different. So I make an awful lot of bags, but no two are exactly the same. So I may have made a satchel pattern. I may have made a satchel book. There may be satchels in, I don't know, magazines, but they're not. Nothing is exactly the same. I wouldn't like you to buy one book and then see an article in a magazine and think, well, I've just paid all that money for the book, and then that's. So all of them are different. But there is a backpack coming up. Just been working on it this week actually for February, which is different to any of the backpacks that are in the backpack book as well. And it's using Craftex like that, paper leather stuff as well. So that was nice. If I say so myself. I think we are up to date. Yes, Karen, thank you. Can you bob? I don't know what she wants. There's nobody outside. Gary and Vienna are in there playing. What do you want? Bob. Bob in. Bob. She was 3 on Saturday. Don't they grow old quickly? Where does the time go? No idea. Right. I've seen lots of pictures of elephants and teddy bears. Alan, I don't think you're here, but you might be watching this later on. I've seen all of your teddy bears and they look amazing. So this is this month, and still do keep sending you pictures. I love to see them. I thought you might like to see, though, a little bit of the process. Here's my favourite. That's where I started. So I'll come up with a bit of a sketch, and then I'll cut it out of fabric and I'll make it up. And if it's not quite right, I'll do another sketch and I cut it out of fabric and I make it up, and I'll do another sketch and cut it out of fabric, and then I'll make it up. And I just wanted to show you that kind of some of the rogues I'm left. I can't throw them away because they're like characters. But this little chap started off like this. Look, he's got a very long head. And he's got a very straight trunk. So this is how I made him up initially. Let me show you a bit closer. Look at the shape. Where have you gone? There you go. Look at the shape of his head. It looks ridiculous. So yeah, I'll make him up like that, and then I get to stuff him. Do you know, I think she's lost a bone or a ball or something under the stairs. That's what it sounds like. And that's when I decided it doesn't look quite right, and then rework it again. So he's got a nice shaped trunk, And his head isn't a big, long thing like that. It's nice and round and kind of cute. But this, I don't know what I'm going to do with him. I can't throw him away, can I? He's really cute. Well, he's not actually. He's ridiculous looking. He hasn't even got any ears, but you know. So I just thought I'd show you something that, you know, you wouldn't normally see things like that. But that's like the ones gone wrong, but they still sit on the shelf. There you go. Got some English paper piecing coming on next month as well. I don't know if I'd show you this far ahead. I love tumbling blocks. It's one of my favourite English paper piecings. So I've got a little wristlet coming up. But I probably shouldn't have told you that. Right, where are we? Because we're almost out of time. She lost something. Oh, she was barking at a ball that had rolled into somewhere where she couldn't fit. I was in a box. Oh. Hi, Anne. You're not having it. Oh, him? I thought you meant Bobbin. You want him as a prize? Really? You want that? No ears, no eyes, and a nose that looks like, I don't know. It's a bit. I tell you what, Anne Bentley. I can't offer that as a prize. It's a little bit embarrassing. But if you message us with your address, I'll send him to you. He's yours. How's that? I'll send you a bit of extra fabric so you can finish him as well. So it's going to be like that. I'm not sewing the back up or anything. But if you want him, he's all yours. See how generous we are here at Half Yard Sewing Club. We give away things like this. You're going to make him look gorgeous, aren't you? I bet he's going to have eyes and a dicky bow and little clothes and ears and everything. Andrea wants her own going wrong project. My second ever book was Half Yard Heaven. It's still one of the best sellers now. And we're coming up towards the end of the whole Half Yard series. And I said, wouldn't it be lovely? We started off with Half Yard Heaven to finish the series on Half Yard Hell. Just making really awful projects that go completely wrong and nobody wants to make. I think it'd be a bestseller myself. Vicky, if Bobbin got hold of this, she wouldn't rip it to pieces, but she would have every inch of stuffing out of the middle of it, and then she throws it all over the room. And I know that because previous models of things like this have been strewn all over the sewing room, all in bits and pieces. Lovely. Thanks, Anne. Yep, all yours. Good luck with that one. Joan, yes, I am getting some more Madison bags. Within a week. They should be on my website, not this website, because we don't sell anything apart from the membership and the Half Yard Sewing Club, but my website is something to tell you, debbieshawsewing.com. So it's kind of a different entity. That is a shop. Half Yard Sewing Club is just the Half Yard Sewing Club. But if you are a Half Yard Sewing Club now, Jackie, lucky Anne, really? If you are a Half Yard Sewing Club member, then you can get 10% discount on my website as well. That's debbieshawsewing.com, and that's international. So we post all over the place now. The fabric flowers. Oh, these are coming. Can't remember when. Fabric flowers' faces are coming up. Can't remember when, but they are in the pipeline. Lovely. I think I'm up to date there. Right. Okay. So we're about out of time. If you're heading to Stitches, which is the trade show at the NEC, I'm going to be there visiting with Kim on the Sunday and the Monday. There's also a what's it called? Creative Craft Show at the end of, is that February or March? February. I think it's at the end of February at the NEC. We're going to be there. We'll have a stand there. So we'll be there for the whole 4 days. I'm not doing workshops or anything, but you can come over and have a chat, and I'll be there with Kimberly Ann Tyler. There's another show in London, I can't remember, some kind of sewing show going on in March. 1st of March on the Sunday, I'm going to be visiting there. So if you do see me wandering around, come and say hello. That's at the, can't remember where. I shall keep you posted on the blog and on Facebook as to where I'm going to be, if I'm going to popping up at any of the different shows that are coming up. I will be at Inspirations in Preston on the 15th of February with my new fabric panels and my new Delhi fabrics. I shall be on Create and Craft this Saturday launching said new Delhi fabrics, which are, see the little girl's dress there and some little bits and bobs around. That'll be at 8 o'clock, 3 o'clock and 8 o'clock again. Long day, isn't it? Fabrics already in Hobbycraft if you're interested in that. I'm not doing Glasgow, Mary. We did have it on the agenda, and I apologise because I did say that we'd be going to Glasgow, but it just works out it's not going to happen, I'm afraid. Leslie's going to see me in Preston, which will be lovely. Not this year, maybe we should go and visit. Should we go and visit? Should we go to Glasgow for a day out? Long way for a day out, but maybe we'll go and visit. But I haven't got a stand there this year. Anne says, when's my new book coming out? The quilting book will be out in June. After that will be dressmaking, and after that will be hand sewing, and after that, I don't know yet. We're in negotiations. So those are the three that we've got coming up at the moment. Okay, well, thank you for joining me this evening, this morning, this afternoon, wherever you are. Again, if you wanted to pop along and join us in the Half Yard Club, we've got over 1,500 members now. It's getting to be a really, really big sewing club, and it is really a lovely place to be. Can you hear Bobbin? We've got wooden floors, and she's got a ball in her mouth, and she's showing it off. She won't come and say hello. We'll have to do a live from outside sometime. Maybe the weather's a little bit nice, so we'll do a live from outside, and we'll get Bobbin involved as well. Come and have a look where we are. Right, okay, we're all up to date. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us. If you do want to, again, come along and join the Half Yard Club, or if you want to dip your toe in the water and see what we're all about, then you can have a month for free. Have a look through some of the previous posts, or the one that Emma's just put on there. Welcome 18 is the discount code, so you can get a whole month for free and just take a look at everything that we're up to. We'd love to have you on board. It's been a pleasure having your company this evening. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening or your day, wherever in the world you are. And I shall see you again at the end of February. So I shall see you soon. Bye-bye.